say old, but it's age. It's got an aged surface, and that provides some great racing across this half-mile oval.
It does. The racing, the tire wear is there. They've patched some new pavement in over the last couple of years in spots that really needed to be fixed. It's going to be a great race. That's what happens on Sunday when the tires start to wear. And the drivers that saved their tires had the best strategy. They're up front at the end of that 300 laps.
Well, as we mentioned, it's an absolute honor and pleasure to be here with you, but we're not alone. We are joined by two of the best who were with us all morning yesterday, and they're back with us today. Bob Dillner, Jim Trado. Good morning, fellas.
Good morning, Eric, and I'll tell you what, it is cold here at Five
No,
Flags
it's
Speedway.
sunny Florida. It's got to be warm. It's Florida, right? It's not even 40 degrees right now.
And we're only about 9 miles from the water, the Gulf of Mexico, Pensacola Bay, and so forth, so that has a factor in how frigid it's going to feel. And this first practice session that's coming up, Jim, is going to be a direct indication of maybe what qualifying is going to be like at about 6 o'clock tonight.
I've always wanted to be a weatherman. It's 40 degrees now. It's going to get to 51, and it's going to get to 37 at qualifying time at 6 o'clock tonight. So this is the best chance to get it right for qualifying. I saw some guys are going on stickers. Michael Hine I just talked to, he's going on scuffs to get one more race run in before he switches over.
Yeah, so we have another practice session a little bit later on in the day that you guys talked about, but at the same time, this is a very special one, a very important one to set yourself up well for qualifying a little bit later on tonight. And some people on pins and needles, not only because of all the different factors, whether it's the weather, the dew, the nerves, the jitters, that sort of thing, but some people weren't where they wanted to be yesterday during practice.
We have some NASCAR drivers here that are struggling in speed. Noah Gragson is about 2/10 off where he wants to be, maybe a little more than that. That's going to urge their program in that Port City car that he has with RJR. We also know that Sammy Smith is here, a late addition, if you will, from a brand new piece that was not, it's new to him. It's a new car. And that NASCAR Xfinity Series car was not in the top 30 in times yesterday. So for that car and that team, work to be done this morning.
Definitely a lot of work to be done. These, cold temperatures, the wind is gusting here as well. When qualifying is scheduled to begin at 6 p.m. tonight, it's supposed to be about 42 degrees at 6 p.m. And I know we're harping on the weather, but the real feel is right around that freezing mark. And we're talking about Florida in December, sunshine, yes, but those cold temperatures, and that will actually make qualifying even more exciting than it normally is.
We had a lot of rain yesterday, so we don't have a lot of rubber built up. We had local divisions last night after a long rain clearing. I mean, they did a great job getting the track cleared, but that also created a factor that may affect the defending champion, Ty Majeski. We'll tell you more about that here in a little while.
Any favorites for the pole yet?
Derek Thorne.
Four-time pole sitter.
If I'm at the betting table, why, it's Thorne against the field almost. However, he's in a car that he hasn't raced here at the Derby before with Paulie Schaefer.
Chandler Smith, 7 laps on the racetrack yesterday, fastest. Can't bet against him either.
And he dipped in and won an ASA Stars race at Owasso this year with Donnie Wilson, the team he's with here today.
A lot of stories. We're going to be covering them throughout the pit area for super late models and pro late models here throughout the day. And guys, you stay warm up there. I know it's nice and cozy up in the booth.
Thanks, gentlemen. I was about to say stay warm down there, but the action's about to heat up a little bit as we inch closer to the start of today's Snowball Derby practice. But Adam, we did get to run about half of the scheduled sessions that were on the docket yesterday for the first day of official on-track activity, and we saw familiar names atop the charts once we got the go sign to get that practice underway. The driver we were just talking about, Ty Majeski, and defending winner, he was on the racetrack working on this race car to try to defend his title, but this is a name that Jim Trado just mentioned as a potential pole favorite for good reason, and Derek Thorne.
Yeah, Derek Thorne fast yesterday, second quick in overall speeds for the 2 sessions put together. This guy quick as well, Chandler Smith, only was on track for a few laps. He was the fastest of all cars in super late model practice. This guy had his hands full.
Kyle Steckley with a big moment off turn 4, and that wasn't the only bit of drama that we saw. How about 2 NASCAR competitors in Noah Gragson and William Sawalich getting into it in turns 1 and 2 and having a bit of an animated discussion afterwards. If you check out the FloRacing socials, you'll see an interview we put together with Noah talking about the incident, and we'll see if that carries over as we shift our focus to pro late model Snowflake 100 practice with Casey Roderick, Blizzard Series champion, also one of the quickest.
Jared Butcher in the 54 car, brother of Cole Butcher. There's the 47, Caden Honeycutt. Ended up winning the truck race last night at Honeycutt.
Seth Christensen working very closely with Garcia in that team, and also Carson Brown in the Anthony Campy organization was very quick in yesterday's practice session as well for the Snowflakes. So even though we only got on track for about half of what we were scheduled to for both of those practice sessions, a lot of energy and a lot of moments, and we can expect more of the same once we are set to get underway with this morning's practice session a little over 5 minutes from now.
Beautiful day, a little on the chilly side as we've talked about. Not a lot of wind, but it's definitely on the cool side, but much warmer than what we would be feeling if we were still up north. Myself from Illinois, many others come down from the upper Midwest to enjoy the weather in Pensacola. One of the cooler weeks. It's going to be a beautiful weekend coming up tomorrow and Sunday as we send it back down to Bob Dillner.
Well, guys, a lot of talk after practice yesterday because Ty Majeski, who is a two-time winner of the Snowball Derby, had to fix the front end nose piece of his race car. And the talk was the fact that a piece of the pavement here on this racetrack came up and went through that nose piece. Well, they got it repaired here today, but I want to show you. We came out here to honestly find where they patched the racetrack late last night. And if you can look behind me, this racetrack has not been paved in a long time, but that's part of what makes Five Flags Speedway unusual, unique, fast, and competitive here in the Panhandle of Florida. There are tons of patches here, and you can see one of them in front of me. I called Tim Bryant, the GM for Five Flags Speedway, and I said, hey, where's the patch? He goes, Bob, there's so many out there. Just pick one of them. And you can see some of the patches that they put down on the pavement here. Now, they did a couple of years ago actually grind this racetrack, and they made it ultra smooth. The drivers love it. But these patches have been put in place all over the racetrack, and it's what gives this racetrack some character. A lot of drivers have said, do not pave this place because it will take away from the characteristics that have made it so special for so many years. So while sometimes little things happen like this, at the same time, Ty Majeski, his team went to work. The track is good. They actually sealed up the spot. One of them here in turns 3 and 4, all sealed up, ready to go. But this racetrack is special. It's got history, tradition, and the patches are certainly part of that here at Five Flags Speedway. Jim?
Bob, I'm at Ty Majeski's car. It was a 4-hour fix. The size of your fist was the size of the asphalt that came up from a car ahead of Ty yesterday in practice and punctured into the screen right below the O infusion here. This was damaged heavily by impact from the asphalt. They don't know exactly how many little pieces went everywhere, but it was a 4-hour fix. They had to replace the pan. They weren't worried about the radiator yet, but Crew Chief Toby Doodleman just told me, he said, we'll find out if there's any internal issues or where those little pebbles went after they shattered off the nose of Ty Majeski's defending Snowball Derby winning car. So this is the area that they worked on. They got the pan replaced, thanks to Michael Hine for some spare parts. A lot of work went in this, about 4 hours yesterday afternoon. Toby said even without the rain, we would not have been able to practice with all that damage from what came up on the racetrack.
Thanks, Jim. And that's a really good point. I mean, I think maybe Mother Nature holding back the rest of the competition for learning more while they were repairing that car for the defending Snowball Derby champion may have ended up working in their favor a little bit. They're still going to get the same amount of on-track time that will be available since the rain out pushed those sessions off. But the defending winner of this race, two-time winner of this race, and 2024 NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series champion Ty Majeski and that team already coming back from a little bit of a deficit suffered on that Thursday practice session.
What a wheelman Ty Majeski is, always one of the favorites coming into Derby week. Top 3 in speeds yesterday. When you look at that pole potential tonight, and Jim Trado was pretty adamant that Derek Thorne is the favorite. Man, he's a great qualifier. You know, Cole Butcher's been a good qualifier here, and he's qualified front row a number of times as well. But between Majeski and Thorne and Chandler Smith, I mean, we only got to see him on track for just, what did we say, like 6 or 8 total laps yesterday. And each session, he just put down a wicked fast lap.
Yeah, Chandler's average finish here is remarkable. All of his results well up into the top 10 along with the victory that he got here. And speaking of Ty Majeski, our statistician for the day, Elgin Trailer, passed us a note. He is the track record holder here for Snowball Derby qualifying. It was a 16.120. With it being as cold as it is right now, I think we're going to see some really fast and impressive lap times. But as Bob was talking about, with this racetrack having as much character as it does, it'll be quite interesting to see if that number is flirted with at all. Granted, the field combined yesterday was about 0.3 off, so the track record may very well be safe, but with the temperatures getting cooler in the evening, who knows what could happen here as the track is set to go hot for the first morning practice session of the 57th annual Snowball Derby. And we saw yesterday with Jeremy Doss, and Jim Trader reported on this, they waited in line for about an hour to be the first car to hit the racetrack. Similarly, what we see today, that number 23, that will be the first one to hit the banks, and Billy Van Meter out of Indianapolis, Indiana, he wants to be the first one to see what his car has, and he will be the first car out once we get the thumbs up for the track to go hot this morning. Well, one driver who we saw have his hands full during some of the practice yesterday is down with Bob Dillner.
Kyle Steckley getting buckled up inside his race car, getting ready for practice. Kyle, we saw this car was tight, loose, all over the racetrack a little bit. Did you get it dialed in, and what do you need to work on today here in practice?
Yeah, I think we got it pretty good. I mean, we were fighting for sure yesterday, just not connected through the corner. So getting it better here and going to work on qualifying runs today, and hopefully we can lock in tonight with our APC 30 car.
A little bit colder here. Track conditions continue to change. What are you thinking in your mind here going into this practice session?
Yeah, it's cold. It's probably going to be gripped up. Just got to stay on top of the track and the weather and make sure we've got it where we need to be tonight when it's going to be cold out.
Kyle Steckley, some great performances this year, and he's used to the cold, right, guys?
Yeah, Steckley from Milverton, Ontario. His father, Scott, four-time NASCAR Canada Series champion. But Adam, he referenced they were a little bit dialed out yesterday, hoping that this 45-minute blanket of time that the Supers are going to have is going to be enough to dial them in time for qualifying tonight.
He did a great job all year long with the ASA Stars National Tour, going to tracks that he had not raced at before and getting used to them. Here at Five Flag Speedway, he's facing a tough task with a great field of cars, but he was struggling for speed yesterday, 41st in overall speed. You want to get up in the 30s, up in the top 30 to make a chance to get into the show tonight. As the cars have rolled onto the track at 10 o'clock, we have 40 degrees right now. The start of practice today in qualifying, tonight at 6 o'clock, scheduled to be 44 degrees. So very similar conditions. Difference will be it will be dark, and now we got a little sunshine that will put a little heat in the asphalt. But very similar conditions to what we're going to see later tonight.
First car getting a chance to get some heat in the tires on this cool day, as Adam was just mentioning, is that of Billy Van Meter, the 2022 ASA and CRA Super Series Rookie of the Year, and what was his first full-time year in super late model racing. Just behind him, one of the many festive paint schemes that you will see. In fact, voting continues for the best appearing car. This driver came up to the booth yesterday talking about how they were also trying to work on the handling of this car, and that's Connor Okrezik in the festive number 14 car out of nearby Grand Bay, Alabama, who is second in line.
Group of super late models pulling onto the track will go green here in a lap or so. There's the beautiful number 4 car, which is also looking for speed. Struggled yesterday in times. We'll see what he does here right out of the gate. To start a practice, 20-year-old driver from Wisconsin, Luke Fenhaus, making his fourth appearance at the Derby. Did finish 8th back in 2023. Watch for Luke Fenhaus, who doesn't get a chance to race super late models as much as he did over the last few years, trying to get that car up the speed chart a little bit.
And he was, of course, someone who's had success in those style of cars. Youngest winner ever at the Slinger Nationals back in 2021. And then we get a look at that of Connor Jones in the number 44. We've mentioned his success in late model stock cars over the course of the last few months, but he is right on the edge of maybe feeling comfortable about what they have. And what we did was we were able to combine the speeds from all of the on-track activity for the Supers yesterday. And we've just shown you a lot of drivers who are looking for some speed, some of which, of course, really stand out in the likes of Noah Gragson, Luke Fenhaus, as we just talked about, Kyle Steckley we heard from, Connor Jones. When you merge all the times together, right on that bubble, 29th quickest was the time that he laid down across the board. William Sawalitz was right there as well in 30th. There are some pretty big names here that know they've got a lot of work to do to feel comfortable going into qualifying tonight.
There's the one of Casey Klein coming from Quincy, Washington, the 24-year-old making his debut at the Snowball Derby, was the 24 champion. The Northwest Super Late Model Series is the drivers getting some heat in the tires. Normally they go green pretty quickly right out of the chute, but here they're giving them a couple of laps to get some warmth in the tires and get ready to go. These cold conditions on a Friday morning in Pensacola, Florida. Michael Hind in the 69 picked up the big Super Late Model win, the World Crown just a few weeks ago, and has been strong in pro late model competition here, has plenty of experience at Five Flag Speedway as well as New Smyrna Speedway and a lot of tracks in the South. Doesn't mind traveling either. We see him up north quite a bit. making his third attempt for the Snowball Derby. Has 2 starts in the event, finished 14th a couple of years ago. One of 2 number 8 cars we have in the field. Carson Quapple, Concord, North Carolina driver. Field getting the green and underway for practice. 45 minutes for the super late models of the Snowball Derby.
Quapple in that new Fuge Race Cars chassis that Bob Dillner was telling us about yesterday with Dave Fuge, who worked with Carson's father Travis to win the 2003 NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series title before Carson moves on full-time to the NASCAR Xfinity Series in 2025. And here's a car that was very fast off the gate yesterday, one of a pair of 22s that are in the field. This white 22 with the, I'll call it orange decal on the hood of that race car. Buddy Shepard out of Bakersfield, California, making his first Snowball Derby attempt, was happy with the car in first practice yesterday. And we'll see what he's got in the early morning session here as well, as so far he is the quickest, and he is joined on the racetrack by the other 22 as well, and Gio Ruggiero, who is next in line behind him. Gio's made some news over the course of the last week, moving up to the NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series with Tricon Garage in 2025. And he's sawing on the wheel already off 4.
Gio Ruggiero, beautiful looking scheme, changed it up a little bit for the Snowball Derby weekend, and he drops it down after turning a couple of laps. Ruggiero 4th right now. Stephen Nasse on track in the 51. Didn't show a lot of speed for the first practice session yesterday, and halfway through the second, much the same, went out late during that second session, put down a pretty good lap in the Campy Racing number 51. So Stephen Nasse ended up 16th in overall speed yesterday. Expect him to be pretty fast here today, already up into the 3rd spot.
We actually caught up with him before the end of that second practice, as we see Carson Quapple getting a little loose in front of him, and Nasse's going to back out of it and give himself some room. And you mentioned he was pretty confident going into that last bit of on-track activity we had here at Five Flags yesterday afternoon, and bumped his way right up into what was the top 10 of the speed charts for that particular session. Ended up 16th in the combined times when we lay it all out together, as a couple of cars decided to come back to the attention of their crews early on.
Connor Okresic said he was terrible yesterday when they first went on track, and they basically rebuilt the car to get him back out on track. Said it felt much better, which was surprising to him because they had tested in recent weeks and said the car was good. How about this 13-year-old on track?
Vito the Torpedo, the nickname that this driver has, out of Martinez, California. And as you mentioned, 13 years old, attempting his first Snowball Derby. This young driver who has quite the personality. He was the 2023 Junior Late Model Champion at Madeira, and his first full-time foray in a pro late model kicked off this year. Now he's trying to make his first Snowball Derby with another West Coast driver next on your screen.
Jeremy Doss, plenty of experience at the Snowball Derby, is yet to finish up where he would like to, obviously looking for the win, but Doss has not been in the top 10 at the end of one of these derbies, has made 7 starts, the 23 Blizzard Series champion here at the racetrack.
Big slide off of turn 4 for that of Caden Lapsevich, who was very public and open about the struggles that he felt that he had with this race car, and it was for good reason. When you look at the scoring charts from yesterday, he was well outside the top 30 with this organization. This is a family-owned team for the driver who normally serves as a crew chief at Venturini Motorsports on the ARCA Menard Series side, and they are desperately searching for speed, and they have found it so far in this session. He's 3rd quickest of the cars that have been on the track.
This year's winner of the All-American 400 at Nashville, Jake Garcia, former runner-up in the Snowball Derby. Garcia, 6th right now on the speed chart.
Garcia working very closely with his teammate, albeit not in the same race, but under the same banner with this race team, in that of Seth Christensen, who is in an identically, I don't want to say identically prepared, but cars that look pretty similar, number 45 Pro Late Model for the Snowflake.
And Christensen went 3rd yesterday in speeds for the Flake, so they've got 2 pretty good pieces.
Brent Cruz wrapping up an on-track run. We heard from him yesterday. Here's the other Quapple in the field, Caden Quapple, in the number 32 Keen Parts entry. Another car with a Corvette sticker on the front of it, similar to what we see Nick Loden run in the number 43 as well. Of course, Keen Parts working closely, and also a subsidiary of that of CorvetteParts.net, 2 very long-time supporters of Caden Quapple, and Nick Loden as well, who's top 10 in the scoring charts. Thus the reason why they put that identifiable nose sticker on that Chevy race car.
2.5 tenths yesterday was the difference between 1st and 30th in practice speeds for super late models. 2.5 tenths. That's the difference between making the show, being on the pole, and not making the show.
as we watch Sammy Smith have a bit of a moment off turn 4 that has been a bit of a trouble spot. Let's go down to Jim Trado.
Well, the fastest car in practice yesterday between the two sections was Chandler Smith, the 2021 Snowball Derby champion. This is the same car he raced and won with in 2021, but he's not been back since. Yesterday, a couple handfuls of laps, Chandler posted a 16.498 is the best lap of yesterday. We're already at that number today. I don't know if we'll get down to that track record that Ty Majeski set here in 2015, but Chandler Smith is always been a great qualifier. Always been strong. His first 4 Arkham Art Series starts at age 17. He was on the pole for all 4 of those races at various racetracks. So I consider Chandler Smith one to watch here, dialing it in. Now his nose was completely taped off, but I think it's partly due to the weather rather than a mock run, as he's got scuffs on. But taping the nose off, they have the liberty now to see if that car feels like in full tape because of the cool temperatures. That could be developing what they want to develop and change when they put the tires on for the mock run. Bob?
Well, here's what I can tell you down here, Jim. You mentioned scuffs versus mock runs versus just race runs. And I think a lot of the teams with those cold temperatures, like you alluded to, decided to go out in scuffs early in this practice session to make sure they had their baseline correct on their race cars. But if you look right here in the Caden Honeycutt team, they have their sticker tires ready to put on the race car once Caden feels comfortable inside that race car, and then they'll go out for a mock qualifying run and see where they stack against the rest of the competition for qualifying at 6 p.m. tonight.
Thanks, Bob. And as we continue to watch practice flash by, new fastest car. In fact, the fastest time that we've seen over the course of the last 2 days. And Bubba Pollard trying to win this race for the first time. He just laid down a 16.430. Fastest time we saw yesterday was in the 16.4s, but it was a 16.49. So speed's definitely picking up here. And I'm sure there are several drivers who are going to start to mock up for their preparations for qualifying later on as we check in on William Sawalich.
Sawalich right now in the top 5. Has a fast race car. Had the issue on the racetrack, which is kind of rare for practice here. You don't see a lot of near scuffles in the pits, but Noah Gregson obviously showing his displeasure with William Sawalich with some on-track issues they had yesterday during practice, and it's all about getting that good qualifying run, and I think that's what it came down to.
One car fresh off the racetrack. What's been a big news week for this young driver. Gio Ruggiero is with Jim.
Gio, I got to ask, you're already out of the car, put the jacket on. What'd you learn in the first run this morning?
Yeah, we're about to mock up here at the end of practice. Super cold day. I think the track's really fast, and I think we got a really fast car, so I'm excited.
Your boys also saw a little bit of heat, like flames on the right front. They got that out quickly. Any warning in the car when the right front came in on fire?
Yeah, we had a little mishap there coming in for practice, but we got it cleaned up, and we're ready to go mock and try to go top of the boards here.
All right, now that you're in the car, they're going to change things over. Is this for the mock run? Is this for your determination in these cold temps for tonight?
I couldn't hear you there.
You're out of the car already. Is this now the time to make it right for the mock run?
Yeah, for sure. I think we got a couple things. We're going to make some changes here and try to go P1.
Gio Ruggiero, man, he's good at this level. He's been with Donnie Wilson now for 2 years. He is poised and ready and watching intently what others are doing while his team is getting his car ready for the all-important mock run.
You see a curious onlooker there in Derek Thorne, who, as we mentioned, tremendous qualifying record and resume, watching Scott Steckley muscle his car off turn 4 for the second day in a row. And Adam, one thing that we keep hearing drivers say is we're going to get ready to mock up. We're going to try to lay down a mock run later on. They'll seal off the nose of the car. As Bob alluded to, some teams are electing to try that with or without the sets of sticker tires they still have available. Some are going to try to do it on scuffs. We saw that yesterday. But there is some risk involved in how you plan to attack that mock run. And that was pretty much what created that feud between that of now the fastest car in this session, William Sawalich, and Noah Gregson yesterday. They felt like they were done wrong with how they prepared for their mock run. Things weren't communicated properly. The spotters are all kind of placed together to our right outside of the scoring tower, and timing and track positioning for that mock run could play a huge role in how the rest of your day unfolds should it not go your way.
We're 13 minutes into this practice session, and we have about 15 drivers that have yet to go on the racetrack. They're kind of just monitoring things, letting some of the traffic subside with the busy start of practice, and then you'll see guys like Derek Kraus and Derek Thorne, Chandler Smith. Those two cars very fast yesterday, likely will go to the top of the chart. Stephen Nasse trying to take his number 51 to the top of the chart. Nassie, we saw him up into the top 5 or so earlier. He's 11th right now and back on the speedway in the 51 as we send it back down to Bob.
Derek Thorne, you just saw him watching the big screen here in the infield at Five Flags Speedway. What you waiting for?
It's easy to get caught up in traffic here. You know, obviously all of us want to get good laps in, but obviously the most stressful day of the year, so it's easy to get anxious and rush everything. So it's one of those things where we're just kind of biding our time until we get a clean lap here coming up and give ourselves a chance for tonight.
We see the temperature swing from yesterday to today. How important is this particular session?
That'll be big. It is very cold. These tires are very slick the first lap or two, and you can easily bust your butt. So obviously the goal is to at least get to qualifying without having any incidents. So we'll try to just put the whole day together, and hopefully it means well for tonight.
Derek Thorne, he's been fast so far during practice yesterday here at Five Flags.
And Adam, how about that? 2022 Derby winner, started first in 4 of the last 5 snowball derbies that we have had, and has led nearly a third of the laps he's completed in the snowball derby. Derek Thorne classifies today as, quote, the most stressful day of the year. That says a lot.
He did, and we talked to another guy who said it was stressful this qualifying day despite his number of poles and wins, Eddie Mercer, the veteran. And Eddie is the last driver to win from the pole back in 2005, which is an amazing stat. But the last 3 winners of the Derby have come from position number 2. So maybe outside pole is the place you want to end up tonight.
That may be the magic number for sure. Here's a driver we didn't get a chance to talk about all that much yesterday. This number 54 machine is that of Connor Sutton. He's a native of Pensacola, family-owned operation in the FloRacing Shocks entry, as we start to see some of the teams shift their attention to mocking up for qualifying. Report down pit side as those are Sticker Hoosier tires getting strapped on the Pollard Motorsports 8 car, Sammy Smith.
Well, we'll see what he's got to stack up against the competition. I think you're going to see a lot of shuffling in the top 10 on the board. David Gilliland has just gone up into position number 5, showing speed in this 98 car.
And that's big for that team and organization. This is a brand new operation that has been put together by many of the members and partners that make up the Tricon Garage side on the trucks. And this is a new style, new look. And how about that? Right to the top of the charts. First 16.3 we've seen in the last 2 days.
Unbelievable lap for Gilliland in his mock qualifying run. Here's a guy that has been struggling for speed in both the Pro and the Super, just trying to find out what might be a little bit off in his car, and he's made plenty of appearances here at Five Flag Speedway from North Carolina. Matthew Craig, and Craig, wheel looks pretty steady as he comes across the line. He's in 6th right now, so they've found some speed since yesterday. Actually moving up to 4th that time at the line. Got to be pretty happy with that for the young veteran driver, Matt Craig.
Business is definitely starting to pick up, and we're also seeing a lot more separation amongst competitors as we see some of these teams try to see what they could do to mock up right now. Here's Connor Oprezek back on the racetrack. 5 prior starts in the Derby and 7 total attempts for the driver out of nearby Alabama. 2-time winner in the ASA Southern Super Series and 2nd in points in 2019. As we see the Gilliland team now assessing how that mock run went, I'd say it went pretty well.
Yeah, he's got to be real happy with that. Going into the 3s, only driver in the 3s so far this week is David Gilliland. Continuing to watch Connor Oprezek in 27th as of right now in this practice session. See how many drivers have not been on track yet. That number is down to 6 drivers have not been on the racetrack yet in this session.
Here's a driver that is desperately trying to find some pace in that of Noah Gragson. He was a little bit under the weather in the mid-portion of the week. We hope he's feeling a little bit better. We obviously saw the footage between he and William Sawalich after somebody's mock run got disrupted and the contact that ensued on the racetrack. But Gragson and this Rhett Jones Racing team are doing what they can to try to get up to or around team car that of Kyle Steckley, who has improved on his pace over the last 2 days. He's currently 12th in the session, while Gragson,
7th.
And Gragson is also doing a good job so far. They found something overnight.
Yeah, he was outside the top 40 for much of the day yesterday, Noah Gragson. Jake Garcia, 7th. Fastest in practice right now, David Gilliland, as we send it back down to Bob.
Yeah, David Gilliland with his fastest run so far here in practice, talking to his team a little bit about what adjustments they need to make to this race car, and it's a beautiful machine out of David Gilliland Racing. Stevie Levitt helped build this race car. A lot of his philosophy went into it. It's a one-of-a-kind. He's got one of those new 5-star bodies on the side of this race car as well. So David Gilliland said he He really felt good that time, and it's the first time that it really felt good so far down during practice. I know it was fast, David, but how good did it feel, and do you need anything more?
Yeah, that was our first stab at a mock run since we've been here. I felt really good about the race car and race trim, really on that. Typically, when you get a car good in race trim, it goes fast in qualifying trim. So everybody's been working really hard. Really want to thank Steve Levitt. He's helped us build this car. It's kind of our own chassis, design, everything. So to come down here to the biggest race of the year and have the speed we've had is really something I'm proud of. So yeah, that was our first stab at it. Definitely, I left a little on the table. The car's got a lot more.
How about that? The car has got a little bit more, and he's down here just having a ball, guys.
I don't think that's what the competition wants to hear right now. He's the only driver to get below a 16.4 over the last 2 days, and Gilliland thinks that car's got a little bit more pace in it, and that, as he said, was their first stab at a mock run, and so far so good. A pair of Rackley War cars on the speedway. You got a quick glimpse at Nicholas Noggle. Now we'll check in on Dawson Sutton in what is his first Snowball Derby attempt, but he did run the Snowflake and finish top 5 here last year. Let's go back down to Jim Trado.
Veteran of the ASA Southern Super Series, Matt Craig, has found speed. So all the Matt Craig fans who told you the doom and gloom of their finding speed yesterday, they have found it. Matt Craig is fourth fastest right now. He is still in the car. When he came to pit road, they immediately went into preparation for the mock run. We see the fresh Hoosier tires sitting here ready to go. His dad Jeff's under the hood. They popped the belt off. They're going to prime the engine the way they want it with the tool, so they're going to get that ready. He also has Marcus Richmond with him once again. They've been magic together. Marcus is now a chassis builder, winning car owner. I'm telling you, Marcus has been really good with these guys as the hired gun crew chief, working with Matt Craig and his family team. They're running both divisions, but more importantly, Matt Craig will be a factor with the speed they found in the most recent run. Throwing stickers at it again to see what this run will do.
Well, Jim, Cade Lapsevich is always a factor no matter where he races, a former Winchester 400 pole sitter, but you made your mock qualifying run here during this practice session. You don't have a smile on your face. What are you thinking?
I don't know. We're in the right direction. We really struggled yesterday. Had a lot of issues that we didn't foresee happening. So, honestly, we have a baseline now. We have something we can work with. We're going to make a couple adjustments. We're going to go do another one. So all I'm focused on today is making raw speed. I felt pretty good with our race run speed there, when we tested it earlier in the day yesterday. So we'll go make another one here shortly and see what we got.
I know a racer is never satisfied, but obviously a lot on the line with the top 30 locking in. Based on what you just felt, are you a little less nervous than what you were yesterday about qualifying later on?
I think so. I feel like, with what we just had there, that was the best I've been able to get a read in a mock run. So I feel like we have something to work with. Like I said, in the right direction. Still, I'd like to be like a 10th better, and I'd be pretty satisfied. I might smile then, but no, definitely in the right direction, and gives me some hope for later.
I'll tell you what, this guy finds speed no matter when he needs it. I want to show you something on these race cars. Right now, he talked about making the mock qualifying run. Well, you see all the fans inside the engine compartment. You see the fans here on the wheels cooling things off, and that will allow Caden Lapsevich to get back in this race car and make another attempt at a pseudo mock qualifying run here in the waning moments of practice.
Thanks, Bob. Adam, I love this. I feel like I'm a big fan of all forms of motorsports. I love the Indianapolis 500, the lead up to qualifying day, and watching teams have to trim out and set up for a mock run. Except here, you don't get a 4-lap average. You get just one chance on the stopwatch, typically only 2 timed laps, maybe with a warm-up lap before it, and it applies additional pressure for these teams that if it doesn't go well, the sand in the hourglass is still ticking. We're halfway through this session. You're only going to get so many chances, and if you're going to throw stickers on it, you only have so many of those to lean on too.
Hayden Plybon, one of the drivers that hadn't been on track yet, and he now will make his run here late during this 45-minute session, about halfway through the 45-minute session to start the day for the super late models. Snowflake practice, 45-minute session coming up at 10:45 Central Time this morning. Plybon in the 55 has gone into the top 10, 8th quick, talented driver, and he's shown speed in a couple of starts that I've been able to see Hayden appear at down at Nashville for one. He goes P1. 55 car on his final lap by the line goes 16.321. Actually going to stay in it and try to do even better this time.
Maybe they were saving that car in this mock run just for the time in which they thought they'd get some clear track position. That lap will be a tick slower, but nearly identical. Only 0.02 of a second off of the quick time for that of Plybond. Was his last time through. And we've got a new number atop the pylon, number 55 of Hayden Plybond, as we check in on Cole Raz.
Maybe the biggest surprise in the top 10, the 7 of Derek Thorne. He came out and made a run. Pretty fast, but about a 10th off or a 10th and a half off of Plybond's speed. Thorne just inside the top 10.
We heard from one of the Lapsevich brothers in the field. Let's check in with the other who's in the top 10 in the scoring charts right now. Trayton Lapsevich is with Bob Dillner.
Yeah, Trayton right now beating his brother Caden, and I know you guys have kind of joked back and forth wanting to beat each other in this Snowball Derby, but how does this car feel on that run this morning?
Yeah, the Evram Leland Industries number 32 feels pretty good. We're getting there for sure. That was really our first full mock of the weekend here, so just making some adjustments on it. I think we can get a little better for qualifying later on tonight.
You got the fans on there right now. Going to make another qualifying run, mock qualifying run out there before practice is over?
Yeah, we're hoping to. If we can get it cooled down enough, we're going to try and get one more in before it ends up here.
And how about this? Who's going to be the best brother here during the Snowball Derby, and is qualifying on the line part of that competition?
Yeah, you know, I think we're joking around about it a lot, but, you know, big scheme of things here. I'm hoping that we can both have a good run, you know, lock into the show tonight, and then all comes down to Sunday, maybe a Lapsevich one too.
There you go. And how about this last year, the season that Trayton Lapsevich had here north of the border?
Tremendous effort all year long for that of Trayton Lapsevich, who did make this race 1 year ago. Started up in the top 10, but was involved in a late crash. You see the work continuing here on Jake Finch, who we got to catch up with a little bit yesterday, as things start to simmer down momentarily in terms of out on the racetrack. As I'm sure now we're going to start to see a couple of more cars try to add a little bit more to their lap times. Let's learn more about Jake Finch. Here's Jim.
Yeah, they're taking their time getting this car righted. They've got the blower on the front nose, and Jake is still in the car. Very methodical way to go about things. Keep in mind, Jake's been part of the last 3 Snowball Derbies. His best starting spot was 28th. He was 30th 1 year. He had to win the last chance to get in at his home racetrack. This team wants badly to have him qualify better than where he's sitting now. He's 19th in time, just a whisker off the top 10, but they're going through everything methodically now to get one more run to get Jake more comfortable in his super late model before he jumps in the pro late model.
Thanks, Jim. And Adam, that's got to be a tall order for some of these young drivers that are trying to maximize the available track time that's out there, to have to go from the high-powered Super to the crate-motored Pro. Same facility, same racetrack, totally different feel.
Definitely a different feel, all about momentum in that Pro late model, trying to stay in the gas as long as you can, kind of widen out your corner a little bit, not to scrub off speed. A Super late model can get up and go a little bit better if you pinch the car down a little bit more in a super late model, try to keep it right against the bottom line. As we watch Sammy Smith in the number 8 car making his way around Five Flags Speedway. We are past the first half of this 45-minute session, about 18 minutes to go for the super late models in the morning session. They have an afternoon session to make final adjustments and the final time on track for the happy hour before they go qualifying at 6 o'clock here tonight.
Fastest man in town right now, Hayden Plybond, is with Bob.
Absolutely, and you're smiling right now. Talked to you yesterday, you're pretty good. Are you even better now?
Yeah, everything's coming together just right. Hopefully we could duplicate it later tonight and stay at the top the rest of the day.
How did the car feel?
Really good. We had a good mock yesterday, and we stayed in the top 5 all day, and hopefully we could stay up top. We did a slight change, a little more drive, and it was turning and rolling pretty good, so I think we've got a pretty good car.
I don't see much activity on this race car right now. It looks like you're done. No more practice, you know, leading into qualifying, or will you be part of that next practice session?
We might go out for the next practice. I think we got what we need for qualifying. We don't want to touch it too much. We've been working on it all week so far, so finally getting to a point. There's always more, but I think with this place, you kind of have to find a spot once you're, I don't know. We've been fighting for 3 years and finally found something, so it's working.
Being that you were fighting for 3 years and you're number 1 in practice prior to qualifying, I figured you have more smiles on your face.
You can't count your cards too early. We got the rest of the night still, and there's a lot of fast race cars here, so hopefully we could be at the top at the end of the day.
How about that, Hayden Plybond? Hayden Plybond doing a great job down here during this practice session, Jim.
Yeah, and there's drivers that are going to be doing the switching around. Caden Honeycutt actually is racing in 3 divisions. Raced last night. He's got the pro and the super. And guys, they had a special throw money at it for a fastest lap in practice on purpose here last 2 weekends ago. Caden Honeycutt was the fastest in the pro late model, fastest in the super, and fastest in the truck. He cashed every check they offered for the fastest lap in that session. Caden Honeycutt today working with Larry Blount and his team, the familiar number 21 that's been ever present. Jeremy Pate drove this car. Last year it was, I believe, Travis Braden's turn. But Caden doing the hop around. He's trying to find that speed in his AAA model. We know he's racing the trucks next year, but Honeycutt has been impressive this weekend. The tape's going on the nose. Watch for the 21 to maybe move up the charts to get this driver comfortable.
Thanks, Jim. And the super truck race for Caden Honeycutt last night went quite well, even though when things rounded out and when the checkered flag fell, Honeycutt was not initially the first truck to cross the finish line. Post-race tech allowed Caden the opportunity to pose there with the winning trophy, with a truck prepared out of the stable in which he's going to run the pro late model as well, the Bryson Lopez team. So Caden already 1 for 1, taking home a trophy from 5 flags, looking to try to grab 2 more before the weekend is over.
You talk about being busy. There's enough stress when you're just trying to qualify into the Snowball Derby, but you add the stress of 3 other cars to compete during the week at the biggest weekend racing when it comes to short track asphalt. Caden Honeycutt off to a good start with that win last night in the super trucks.
Practice continuing on here for the 57th annual Snowball Derby presented by Flow Sports. In fact, we're coming up on the final 15 minutes or so of this first super late model practice of the day, with qualifying scheduled to kick off at 6 p.m. Central Time later on as Connor Jones is on another run.
Connor Jones currently 26, just inside the top 30. Would like to pick that up a little bit. All of our competitors that are on the entry list have been on track to lay down some runs so far. Hayden Plybon quickest right now with that 16.347. Again, the track record speed set by Ty Majeski a number of seasons ago at a 16.120. Still a couple tenths quicker than what we see here in practice today. Send it back down to Bob.
Pro Late Model's getting ready to go out on the racetrack here in a little while for their practice session. Dylan Smith, Bamba, one of those guys I know you love. You got that big old smile on your face. You're just kind of eating this Five Flag Speedway stuff up.
I love it, man. Like, I love to compete. I love to compete with Lee Falk Racing, and racing with some of the best short trackers in the country. So it's great.
Here's what's really great. And this is what I noticed about your race car. We're going to pan down to that race car right over there, and you see Bobby Gill's name above the driver's section. And Bobby Gill meant so much to the Snowball Derby and Five Flag Speedway, a 2-time winner. Probably should have won it a couple of more times, several poles as well. But, Bobby Gill, why'd you decide to put that on top of your car? We lost him just a little while ago.
Yeah, no, Bobby was the last crew chief that I worked for. So at MDM, I was his mechanic. And I'm gonna tell you what, the stories that he used to tell me going up and down the road, we had so much fun together. We would go get margaritas together. We would get dinner together all the time, and I miss him a lot. And I felt like I couldn't come down here without him being here and not be here, you know what I mean? So he's on this side, and then on that side, Doggy, Andy Nelson, that passed away too. He's on that side, so I work with both of them at MDM. So we're gonna get this thing in the show.
That's pretty awesome. And I want to say, we joke around. Bobby was one cranky individual at times, but man, you just had so much respect for him. That's what made him special.
Yeah, I mean, he was one of the grumpiest son of guns I've ever met in my life, but he loved this stuff, man. Like, this is all he wanted to do was make race cars go fast. And even towards the end, that's all he wanted to do. And watching that, Grant Enfinger's team, that 9 team that Cody Rollbar has, give a run at that deal and having Bobby on that truck, like, that was really cool. They won Talladega with him. That was awesome. So, Bob, this one's for you, buddy.
Well, good luck in practice, bud. Absolutely, Mamba Smith. And guys, here's what's interesting, and here's one thing that just kind of warms my heart. Bobby Gill's last appearance in the Snowball Derby, 2009, was in one of my race cars. Bobby taught me so much. We finished 4th in that race, and it was an honor to have Bobby Gill drive one of my race cars. It was just a fantastic time.
Yeah, and track officials have also announced that the Snowball Derby Hard Charger Award will be named in honor of the late Bobby Gill. So the Hard Charger, the driver picks up most positions on Sunday for that 300-lap race. Be named in honor of the great Bobby Gill.
Incredible gesture, and so fitting for the two-time champion of this race and one of the most synonymous short track racers of a generation in Bobby, who we lost just a handful of weeks ago. As practice continues for the Snowball Derby with the Supers, here is a driver we just talked about not that long ago, the number 21 of Caden Honeycutt. Currently 11th on the charts. We'll see if he improves this time around on what could be a mock run. The hands didn't look all that busy coming off turn 4 for Honeycutt that time compared to what we've seen from some other drivers. So that may be a good indication that car feels quite good for Caden, with Matt Craig back on the racetrack. Still in the top 5 in terms of this practice session.
Yeah, they are making great improvements on the 54 car from what we saw early yesterday in practice. And right now, Matt Craig just outside of the top 5. Bubba Pollard back out in the 26 as well. There's Dylan Feccio, the 89. Former champion of the Pro Late Model class here at Five Flags Speedway. Backs it down.
Let's go down to Jim.
7/1000ths of a second, 7/1000ths of a second slower than last year's pole speed for Buddy Shepard, the Californian, coming for the first Derby. You just climbed out. What do you need yet in this race car? You're awfully quick, but there's other guys a little bit faster.
Yeah, no, we're not bad. Got here off the racetrack first off. It's not bad for relaying. A little bit of work to do, but me and Dwayne are getting her done, and hopefully get a little better.
Hey, you guys did your homework last night. You ripped off a good lap early on. What's now the progression for the rest of the day? You guys getting ready for the 2 o'clock practice? And what do you want to change on your race car?
I probably just stayed up with the rubber. You know, all the cars going up there, so we'll get a little closer. And I think Don't Rager trucking enough for getting me out here at Levana Hall Ambulance for being on this race car, helping us out a ton this weekend. Scott Macelis, he is helping us out a lot too. So hopefully you have a good qualifying night and be here on Sunday.
Thorne, Doss, Combs, they've all raced here. Has this race so far this weekend lived up to what they told you to expect?
Oh yeah, no, it's been a struggle. I've been staying off race monitors, not looking at times, just focusing on a race car, so it's been good.
Buddy Shepard taking you to all in. We talked about 3 California drivers that have raced here numerous times. He's the 2024 SRL Super Late Model Southwest Tour champion, making a throw at his first Derby.
I think that's the second driver who's admitted that they're staying off race monitor and strictly focusing on the race car, as I'm sure Bubba Pollard's team is about to do down pit side. He had his hands full off turn 4, and so does Casey Klein, as some of these drivers are digging in the final 10-minute block of this first practice of the day.
Trying to stay in that throttle. The car gets free on exit, sometimes caused by some tight in the middle. Here's Bubba Pollard, lower right. This is what happened. It gets down on the flat of the racetrack, and sometimes that can free you up as well. It looked like it was turning well, and then it turned a little too much.
Left a little bit of tire marks behind the car as he caught it coming off the 4th corner, which has been the trouble spot for many competitors. Almost a mirror image of what Kyle Steckley did just yesterday, as Luke Fenhouse is back on the racetrack. Again, this team and driver still trying to find speed. 22nd on the charts right now as things stand for the former Slinger Nationals champion.
And moments ago, you saw the 28 car of Cole Butcher. He went to P2. Second quick for Butcher. Yesterday we talked to him and said, man, I've got a fast race car and we've only been out on scuffs so far, so I think maybe some fresh tires there. And Cole Butcher, the Canadian, up to second.
Fenhouse to the top 5 on that run, and what was a steady exit off the 4th corner.
Definitely have some different guys in the top 10 today than what we saw yesterday. Some of them, in fact, yesterday weren't in the top 30. A guy like Fenhouse, a guy like Matt Craig, who struggled yesterday. Lapsevich in 9th right now. Gregson in 10th. Those are guys that we thought were going to struggle to make the top 30. All of a sudden, they found speed. They're in the top 10. And practice 1 on a Friday morning. Qualifying coming up 6 p.m. tonight. Lock in the top 30.
And how about the other end of the spectrum here? Some drivers currently sitting outside of the top 30. Notables include that of Jeremy Doss, who was the first car on track yesterday. Sammy Smith in 32nd. Jake Garcia in 33rd. Brent Cruz 35th. There are a couple of very heavy-hitting contenders who were well up the scoring charts in yesterday's sessions and on the test day here Monday that I'm not sure if it's necessarily by design or if they're going to be searching for pace a little bit later on in their last bit of on-track activity before qualifying this afternoon.
Cole Raz back on track in this sharp 76 car. Cole Raz finds himself inside of the top 30. 20th quick right now for Raz. Snowflake Pro late model drivers, they're getting ready to go. They're just about 7 minutes away from hitting the track. And they had very little track time yesterday, only a 1-hour session before the rain set in. They lost 2 practice sessions for a Thursday afternoon, so they'll get a chance to get out and see what they have in different conditions today.
Jake Garcia in the freight racing, number 35, out of Eatonton, Georgia, wrapping up another full-time campaign with Doorsport Racing on the truck side. Let's go to Jim.
The stories told are about how to get in the Derby, what it takes to get to the Derby. Connor Sutton in the black number 54 did not qualify here 1 year ago. It's his dad, Terry, and one other crew guy getting his car ready here at the end of turn 4, pit in, to get the car ready for one more run to make his first Snowball Derby attempt. He's raced here in an Outlaw late model. He knows the racetrack, but this is a big deal for this small team to get a chance to compete at the highest level at their home racetrack. Connor Sutton about to go back on the racetrack.
Thanks, Jim. And that's another facet of the Derby, right, Adam? Some of these underdogs, some of these family-owned teams. The car looks absolutely beautiful, and you can't tell from the outside that they're doing it the old-fashioned way. But Connor Sutton trying to be one of those Cinderella stories to time his way into the show tonight.
He's going to need a little bit of magic. He's struggling for speed right now. Connor Sutton's only been on the track for 3 laps. Finds himself in 43rd, but they need to get back out and try to move up the chart, see what they've got, see what kind of changes they need to make before they go back on track today at 1 o'clock for practice number 2. Saul Nassie has been on track a lot today during this session. There's Jeremy Doss rolling again for the 44 car. Some of the guys outside of the top 30 right now include Jeremy Doss in the 44. He's 32nd quick. Sammy Smith, 33rd quick. You mentioned Brent Cruz, 35th quick. Okrezik, they thought they had found some speed yesterday, thought the car was better. They're 38th. Caden Quapple has not shown speed in the 32. They've got a lot of work to do there. 39th quick. Some of the guys that are struggling. That 13-year-old kid, Vito Cancilla, finds himself outside of the top 40. They're running out of time to make their cars better. They're going to look for that magic move, the magical change that will get them fast for that 1 o'clock session and then the qualifying later tonight. Loden back out in the 43. Another driver who was fast in his Snowflake car, but he's been struggling in the super late model, is Nick Loden in car number 43. Sharp race car. It looks a lot better down on the track today than it did yesterday.
You mentioned the number of laps that Nassie has run in this session, 23. That's right up there with Timothy Watson. But how about Ty Majeski, who just leapfrogged his way a little bit further up the running order?
Hey, look at Nick Loden, what he just did. Top 5 for the 43. He was 39th yesterday.
Majeski with 24 laps completed in terms of this session so far. And again, trying to rebound from some of the damage sustained with the track coming up, as we brought to you at the top of the hour with Jace Hansen, who was late to get on the speedway this morning. But Ty Majeski down in 29th on the scoring charts. I don't believe that team has mocked up yet, and I'm not sure if they're going to try to do it before this session comes to a close.
Dawson Sutton climbing out of the 26 as we watch John Bolin in the 2, upper left of the screen. John Bolin racing in both the Flake and the Derby. Hands full. Car skating all the way up to the wall, coming on the exit of 4. A little puff of smoke as he enters turn 1. Backs it down, into the pits he goes.
Last couple of opportunities for these teams as this practice was scheduled to go 45 minutes in length. That would take us up about 3 minutes from now. There's Connor Sutton on the race car. Let's go down to Bob Dillner.
Dawson Sutton had a good race car yesterday in the top 5 and overall practice speed. Today, outside the top 10, 14th quick. How was it?
Yeah, I thought it was pretty solid. I mean, I can't really base times off that. We kind of got screwed up on our mock run right there, but I think we have a really good car, and I'm super thankful for what my team brought me, and just super excited for the rest of the weekend.
Is it hard to manage the traffic out there in terms of trying to get that mock qualifying run?
Oh yeah, for sure. It's a lot of cars out here, and it's really hectic. And we knew this before we came here because I raced the Flake last year, and it was hard to get a mock run in last year. So it's kind of just one of those things. It's a little bit of luck, and you just gotta have a good spotter on your side. And thankfully, I have one.
I want to know, are you nervous going into qualifying at all? Great run in the Flake last year, but how about tonight during qualifying?
Yeah, for sure. It's pretty hectic. Definitely the craziest qualifying I've never been in before, but I'm really excited for tonight. It's definitely going to be crazy.
Dawson Sutton's going to have a fast race car for qualifying tonight, Jim.
And the driver started on the front row the last 5 snowball derbies. Derek Thorne has climbed for Polly Shavens number 7. I don't see a big smile just yet, although your time today in practice was faster than your pole speed a year ago. What are you guys working on? What are you working on?
Just trying to chase the track. You know, it cooled down a lot last night, and I think we still have a really solid race car. It's just one of those things where the track conditions change, and you got to keep up with it. Today, the car's not responding as well as it was yesterday with the temperature change, but at the end of the day, the car's still really solid. It's got a good balance to it. It's the most stressful day of the year, and it's one of those things where you got to try to put the whole day together, and obviously tonight will be a whole different story, so we'll wait and see how it goes.
This may be the closest we'll get in temperature in a while when it comes to practice, and then when it comes to qualifying. Your thoughts about processing that and what not to change to be ready for qualifying?
All right, I think the biggest difference, the temperature is going to be similar, but man, with the sun being down, the car is going to change again. Like this little bit of heat helps a bunch. You notice like a lot of these guys' fastest laps are on their 4th or 5th. It's not really even a true mock run, so the times are showing, well, the times are actually showing on race monitor versus what's actually going to happen tonight. We'll have a subtle difference.
I wish you luck, man. I know you're going to chase it hard.
Thanks.
Derek Thorne.
Insight from one of the best to do it specifically over the last few years, and that of Derek Thorne, who doesn't appear to be all that concerned that they're sitting 14th on the scoring charts right now as the last few opportunities present themselves for these race teams. Trayton Lapsevich on his last mock run has jumped up to 2nd quickest. Here is Brent Cruz, who all the way up through the majority of this practice session was not up towards the top of the pylon. Let's see what he's got, as he may end up being one of the final cars to contest the Speedway, with the session beginning to draw to a close.
37th right now for Brent Cruz. Derek Kraus starting 8 of these snowball derbies. He's been very good at qualifying in early in his career. We're down to the final 5 laps of practice 1 for the snowball derby here on this Friday morning.
Kraus going to bring that car down to the pit area. We watch Cruz on the back straightaway, and he gets back to the throttle trying to catch that car off 4.
It looked tight in the middle, and then it got snapped loose a little bit when he got on the gas over in 3 and 4, and I think that's the key. How do you keep the car rotating but get some forward bite off of turn number 4? And Brent Cruz still working. 37th quick for Cruz. Not what he wants right now. They have some time, and they've got a good crew. They'll probably get that car fast. So I think what I'm surprised about is the different names we have in the top 10 today. Some surprises. I think Trayton Lapsevich, 2nd quick. Hayden Plybon, fastest. David Gilliland, 4th fastest. Nick Loden, 6th. Luke Fenhouse, who yesterday was struggling, 8th quick. Caden Honeycutt, 9th. Those are some names maybe we didn't expect to see in the top 10 early this morning.
There are some drivers who have shown pace over the course of both days. I would include Cole Butcher in that conversation, as well as Chandler Smith, who ran 7 laps total, with his last one being his best one. There are some of the contenders, as well as Bubba Pollard, who has been quick pretty much all session long. So the first super late model practice is in the books. Pro late models coming up next. The first practice of the day for the Snowflake 100 coming up right after this.
The reason why the snowman is angry here on Vito Cancilla's car, it's cold at Five Flags Speedway in the Panhandle of Florida. Welcome back to the FloRacing coverage. Pro Late Model practice is coming up next. Vito Cancilla has been pretty busy between the Super Late Model. Now he's in the Pro Late Model. Inside there getting ready to fire this thing up for practice. But Vito, first let's talk about the Super Late Model. You're not where you want to be in speed. Are nerves starting to build heading into qualifying a little bit later on tonight?
Man, I'm just hoping for the best here. We're just hoping to make it in the race and maybe have a good cars. I mean, we'll see what God's got in store for me. We're pretty good sitting in the Pro right now, but for the Super, we're just hoping for the best. I mean, it's my first time here, and, you know, anything could happen. You know, we're just praying for the best here.
Right now, around that 40th spot in time, where does that Super Late Model need to get better for you?
Honestly, I don't know. I was driving the heck out of it. I was driving it really deep, but, you know, let's see what my guys can figure out. I couldn't give much feedback there. Felt good to me. It's just, you know, maybe something they could figure out, maybe something they know.
Let me ask you this, as a 13-year-old coming in here, and this is great experience for you, but is it nerve-wracking as well a little bit?
Sometimes I'm a little bit nervous, and sometimes a little bit happy because I get to race this race. I'm truly blessed to race this race. Blessed to race in general. Really happy to be here. It's an experience. I'd love to get my name out there and maybe even finish pretty good.
Guys, how about that? How can you not be a fan of Vito Cancilla after that interview?
That's a young man who's got a lot of composure given all the pressure that is on this day, and he's mentioned that it's actually straddling across both the Pro and the Super Late Model car. And we talk about just some of those other Cinderella stories. When you look at the racing resumes across many of our competitors in both races, Vito is someone who hasn't done all that much yet in a full-bodied stock car. First year in a Pro Late Model full-time was this year, and he could be one of those upsets that makes the show in both circumstances. But on the other end of the spectrum, we've got some of the heavy hitters trying to win this race for the first time. Here's Jim Trado with an update on one of them.
Yeah, Stephen Nassy told me at the All-American 400 in November, he said, I am saving my Pro Late for the Derby. He's won the All-American 100 before, but he said, I need to keep my car ready to go. I need to be at the Derby. I think running my Pro Late Model again will help me try to win my first Snowball Derby. This is his Pro Late Model rolling out. This is the family team. He also has Anthony Campy preparing his Super Late Model to race. And there's a crew guy on the Pro Late Model team they brought all the way from Wisconsin. Reigning Slinger Super Speedway champion in the Supers, Alex Prunty, is his tire guy this weekend. So they've gone to experience. They've gone with Alex before, but that's the kind of relationship they need to build and have built, and a lot of other teams have brought drivers from across the country and crew members to help them at this level.
Rick Dawson, the promoter at Anderson Speedway, right outside of Indianapolis, Indiana. And we love your quarter-mile racetrack. But what are you doing down here? A little vacation for you?
Yeah, well, I always like to come down the Snowball and get some of Tim and Pat's Southern hospitality. It's great down here. It's a great event, and I just come for the event. It's kind of like I used to go to Indianapolis 500 before I owned the racetrack, and this is just neat to be down here.
You've seen it for so many years. How important is it for this event to continue to grow like your event, like the Redbud 400 and so forth?
Well, I think it's very important. Late model racing needs all the help it can get, and this event in particular, it's the pinnacle of all late model racing, and it's just tremendous what it does for the sport.
Even though you got a little vacation here, I'm sure you got things stirring up there at Anderson for next season. What does it look like?
Oh, it looks great up at Anderson this year. Of course, the Little 500 is our premier event, and it's looking like we're going to have more and more cars this year. They're getting a lot more competitive in the sprint car area, and we're just looking forward to that and our 500 sprint car tour, and then of course the Redbud 400's in July this year. It's the Saturday night before the Brickyard 400 this year, so we're looking forward to a great season and a great event.
Nice to see Rick Dawson down here, a true Super Late Model fan and the owner of Anderson Speedway outside of Indianapolis. Jim?
We talked about 13-year-old Vito Cancilla. We talked about Rick Dawson and the years of experience he has as an official and now as a track owner. There's a driver trying to make his way into the headlines. George Phillips, the number 55 out of Georgia. He is 16 years of age, trying to make his first snowflake. This effort has been a year in the making. He's been racing a lot in Pro Late models, but here it's a different challenge. We talked to George yesterday. He sounds confident. He also takes a lot of information from a lot of different people. He's working with Jamie Yelton and that Fatheads racing team. He's got pockets, and he's also relying upon Bubba Pollard for information here at this racetrack in his first attempt at the Snowball Derby, and the Snowflake yet to come as he's lined up in practice.
Thanks, gentlemen, as we see the first batch of Pro Late models making their way out of the speedway for the first time today. Jet Nolan about to bring that car up to speed as the green flag has been displayed to officially kick off this 45-minute practice session for the Snowflake 100 that will take place on Saturday, along with their qualifying and last chance event as well. But the last bit of an opportunity for these teams to dial their cars in as Travis Braden gives us some side-by-side action there in 3.
Little slingshot move down the backstretch into turn 3 for Braden. Former winner of the Snowball Derby, Travis Braden, getting the opportunity to race in the Flake. Was outside of the top 30 yesterday, so you know he's going to be up on the wheel today. They don't qualify until tomorrow afternoon for tomorrow night's Alan Turner Snowflake. Their qualifying's tomorrow afternoon at 3 p.m. Central Time.
We've seen many festive cars already today, no exception here with the 6, if that of Brandon Lopez. Already a good weekend for this race team. We saw Caden Honeycutt in what looked to be an identical car that he's going to wheel himself. In fact, Honeycutt's out of the racetrack at the same time as one of the co-owners of the Bryson Lopez team, and Brandon Lopez here in this blue 6, as Jimmy Renfrew Jr.'s got himself a slide there with Chase Pinsino just behind him in the 14.
Chase Pinsino, not the car that he was originally scheduled to race here, had an accident with what was going to be their primary car in recent weeks, so he is still expected to be fast. 14. Chase Pinsino yesterday was just inside of the top 30. You look at the Hind machines lower right, they've got a Super and a Pro, and Hind, usually fast in his Pro Late model, was among the top 10 or very close to it yesterday.
As Pinsino gets himself a little bit loose off the corner, let's go down to Jim Trado.
Jake Finch is in the number 18 for Ronnie Sanders, the 1977 Snowball Derby driving champion. This is the 50th anniversary for this team. Several crew members were here 50 years ago in 1974 when Ronnie Sanders built the car that Pete Hamilton won the Derby in. It would not be a Derby weekend without this scheme and this team here competing. A lot of the guys are telling me they like how James Finch operates. They won the Show Me the Money series, the 7-race series at Montgomery and Pro Late models. James Finch has the car that won the Snowflake 100 last year, driven by Hunter Robbins. They are ready to fire. Jake is fired up to be with these guys, but the history oozes from this pit because these guys have literally been there, done that for 50 years.
Thanks, Jim. And the track is busy right now. Several cars out on the racetrack. One indicated they're going to come down to the pits. That's one of the 11s. That's Brian Reeves, the family-owned operation. Here's Luke Baldwin, who we heard from. In fact, Luke had a lot of fun at the kickoff party on Tuesday night with some of his fellow competitors and TJ DeCare, his good buddy and spotter, Carson Lofton. If you didn't get to catch some of that, we clipped some of those moments on our social media account. Luke showing us he's a man of many talents when put on the spot. Perhaps no spot greater than trying to make the Snowflake 100 field in what's been a great year for him in tour-type modifieds as well as in some full-bodied stock car opportunities with this in-house built chassis for the Tommy Baldwin Racing stable.
Baldwin Racing with some fenders this week here at the Derby, up in the top 10 right now. And I think some of the guys, we'll see if some of the veterans maybe stay pit side and come out and do a mock run. Of course, their qualifying doesn't come up until tomorrow, so not quite the importance maybe yet on qualifying. But much like the Snowball Derby, there's going to be about 15 drivers not lock in through qualifying. Be a couple provisionals. They'll have the last chance qualifier. And tomorrow, the one thing you'll notice, Eric, with the Snowflake qualifying happens, and then very shortly thereafter, they go right back on track for the guys that didn't lock into the top 30 to run their qualifying race. There's no time to really make big adjustments and prepare for your Snowflake qualifier because of the tightness and proximity on the schedule.
So not a lot of time to maybe focus or regroup or shake off the disappointment of not locking your way into the show on your first attempt to do so. As currently right now, Travis Braden, former Snowball Derby winner, driving for the Scott Melton team. Same organization that you would see compete on a part-time basis on the ARCA Menard Series side, is currently the quickest. We heard the story from Jim Trado on Jake Finch and that car and team second. And Casey Roderick, who is solely focusing his attention this weekend on the Snowflake 100 for the 2024 Blizzard Series champion. He is third fastest early on in this practice for the pros.
Jake Finch, second quick right now in the 18 as you see the crew go to work. He's done such a nice job behind the wheel this season, moving over into that pro late model early in the spring, driving for Ronnie Sanders, and he has had a very good year, has been in victory lane. And I think this extra chance to drive will help Jake just gain more experience, even though it's a little different than the Super.
A couple of more uniquely identified and prepared cars. It's one of the many fives that we have in the field coming down the front straightaway. This might be that of Ryan Phipps. He's currently in the top 10 in the session right now.
Phipps, a driver from Idaho. 52 years of age, one of the elder statesmen competing here for the Snowflake. A car that was fast yesterday, the team car to Jake Garcia, this Seth Christensen in the 45. Expect to see that one go up the chart. Currently 11th, but Christensen was in the top 3 yesterday in the one and only Snowflake practice.
Christensen has a couple of wins here at Five Flags in 2024 in a pro. Did one with the Alan Turner Pro Late Models and one with the Rogers Dabbs Performance Pro Late Model Challenge. So, in fact, his teammate gave him some props. I think we posed the question to Jake Garcia, are you helping this young man get around this racetrack on this important weekend? And Jake said, I don't know if I really need to do much. He's already kind of figured it out. So he'll put it to the test in the biggest race of the year for the Pro Late Models as he continues to log some laps.
Just outside of the top 5 is Seth Christensen. We've had a busy start to practice for the Snowflake. We've had 31 drivers on track over the first 10+ minutes. Augie Grill, multi-time winner of the Snowflake and Derby and Modifieds during the Snowball Derby week. Augie Grill, expect to see him up there competing tomorrow night for victory. The Alan Turner Snowflake 100.
And the Grand American Race Cars in Alabama brick number 43 for the Hayden, Alabama native. He's just getting up to speed early on in the session. That should go till about 11:30 a.m. local time. That's a big moment off the corner. It heads up driving by Christensen and not cause a crash off the 4th turn.
Jeremy Williams just about wadded it up on the front straightaway, but hung on to it. And as you mentioned, the youngster behind said, oh, I better back off a little bit here. We don't need any of this action coming off of turn 4. Jim, what do you got for us?
Guys, Michael Hind has jumped out of his super late model, now in the pro late model. This morning when I talked to him, I said, what is the challenge? He said, it's been about a year since he's been in a pro late model and a super on the same race weekend. So he said, it's been an adjustment. But he said, the biggest thing running a pro late model, you're out of the gas a lot less to keep the momentum up. So he said, in the corner, it's a different approach. And he said, when I'm in the super, it feels like I'm going warp speed. When I'm in the pro, it feels like I'm in slow motion. It takes some time to adjust. But Michael Hines said, I've done it enough, and I love this race. I want to win both of these badly. But he talked about it is a big difference for him to get adjusted after time away from doing double duty.
That's a great point, Jim. We were talking about that a little bit earlier, but the transition, warp speed to slow motion, that's the summary from Michael Hind in terms of the super to the pro. I think that's a pretty good analogy.
And it's just the feel of the engine. They actually run very close in times. 4/10 is the difference. 4/10 of a second doesn't seem like a lot. 16 right now. 16.7 is Travis Braden's fast time. 16.3 was the time for Hayden Plybon in practice 1 today.
Here's what happened off turn 4. Watch the 89 bottom right of your picture with Seth Christensen closing and Jeremy Williams big slide off of turn 4. And what is the opening few moments of this session? Here it is from the speed shot coming off of turn number 4. Look at how sideways that car was coming down to the line.
Then he gets nervous a little bit as you're going to try to straighten it out without overcorrecting. Williams was able to keep it in the right direction. Fast car yesterday, ASA Stars National Tour champion in 2024, Casey Roderick, one of the favorites in the Flake for tomorrow night, on track in the 62. 4th quick right now for Roderick. Casey also winning the Southern Super Series Championship in 2024. New driver at the top of the board.
Dylan Capello to the top in one of the many 11 cars that we have in the field. And as referenced yesterday, Capello's full-time job is not as a race car driver. As we watch TJ DeCare in the Walker Motorsports 15, Capello spent the last season serving as a race-winning crew chief for that of Lane Riggs in the NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series at Front Row Racing. Now he's back home doing what he loves to do the most, as he did when he started out his career in scholastic achievements out on the West Coast, moving to Mooresville, North Carolina. And Capello is now the fastest car in this session as we watch Cole Williams work his way around the car, diving to the pit lane.
Cole Williams, a very talented pro late model racer, 24th yesterday in practice. Needs a little more speed, I think, for that team to feel comfortable, but they have plenty of time. Practice sessions this afternoon for the Snowflake, and then again tomorrow before they line up for qualifying at 3 o'clock. Cole Williams has won some big races here at the Flake. He's made a couple of appearances with his family team. Williams has started 2 of the races, 13th in 2017, a 2-time Nashville Fairgrounds Speedway Pro Late Model champion. Matt Craig had figured out the car for the Super Late Model. Has he figured it out for the Pro Late Model? He's on track right now.
That lap around for Craig is going to bump him up into the top 20 in speeds, 19th the last time by, but about 3 1/4 tenths off the flyer laid down by Capello.
This should be the lap that would be the quickest. That was just his second time by last time, and he does move up. 7th quick for Matt Craig. You heard Derek Thorne mention earlier, with these temperatures right now, you're seeing maybe the 4th lap and 5th lap sometimes be the fastest for some of these drivers.
Mentioned a couple of 5 cars in the field. Here's Jeremy Miller, able to identify that car by some of the red backing all up the side, and that big number that we could see from the tower was that car works its way down the backstretch coming back to the pit area for the Rockford, Illinois native.
Miller outside of the top 20. Good driver right here, Jet Nolan, has raced a lot of super late model action over the last couple of years, but in the pro late model for the Flake, another one of those guys that could probably compete for a Snowball Derby win, competing for the Flake this weekend.
Fastest driver on the track right now, Dylan Capello, is with Bob.
And Dylan Capello is about to go out again. He's still buckled up inside his race car, but I want to show you, he was trying to get every inch out of this racetrack to set that fast time. Here's what happened on his warm-up lap. We told you yesterday, down in turn number 1, they get very close to the wall. Well, he got just a little bit too close and brushed that inside retaining wall in turn number 1. But a lot of guys will tell you, if you can barely hit it, that's going to be your fast lap. You can see he just scuffed it down there. He didn't get into the fender at all. So good job by Dylan Capello, the former Lucas Oil Modified champion.
Bob, that's like the old days when they used to run at Darlington, where they said the fast line was literally up against the guardrail at Darlington Raceway. Sounds like that's the trend that we've got here going into turn number 1 at 5 Flags.
Spencer Davis, the veteran, having a lot of fun in 2024. Said it was, as you mentioned, one of his most fun seasons, and that's why he's here. He wanted to come back, hang out with some old friends, some folks in the super late model and pro late model world, and just go out and have some fun racing in the Flake. And he's probably having
trouble
fun.
Back straightaway. Carson Brown has spun off of turn number 2, and I don't believe he hit anything.
Somehow, one of the cars was able to slide through there without making contact. That was Chris Munson. The yellow flag is out.
Hard to believe you could loop a car around on the exit of turn number 2 like that and still have the Anthony Campy racing machine look as pristine as it did when they took it off the truck.
Scary moment. Had a couple of cars out there making mock runs at the same time, and they did not want to get out of the throttle coming to the line when the yellow flag was out.
At first glance, we saw Chris Munson in a 3 car. Didn't appear to be too far off the pace. However, Munson and that team have been working diligently to find more speed in that car. And then the 81 of Carson Brown and another machine all kind of merged together off of turn number 2, with Brown going for the big slide, and he hasn't even brought that car back down the pit lane. He wants to keep going.
Got some heat in the tires. spinning it out on the back straightaway. Scary moment during practice. One of our rare slowdowns in practice from yesterday or today for Carson Brown, who was P1 yesterday in practice speed for the one session that was held. Back to green flag conditions.
Brown, the 2024 Allen Turner Pro Late Model champion here at Five Flags Speedway after moving over to this Anthony Campy organization. And you talk about a glove save and a beauty. The team decided, you know what, stay on out there. Car looks fine. If the tires feel fine, let's keep going.
The other 69 car of Travis Braden, currently P2. This one of Michael Hind on track for the first time.
Travis Braden in the Melton McFadden number 69 machine. Got bumped from the top of the charts by Dylan Capello about halfway through this session. Now potentially working on race runs in that number 69 car, completing his 11th lap of the practice session. That's the most of anybody who is in the top 10 right now in the speed charts.
Speaking of the speed chart, you saw who went up to P1, Carson Brown in the 81 after the spin. It's fast.
By almost 0.2 of a second. That may be the trick come qualifying tomorrow. Just spin the thing around off two and then lay down a flyer.
We have seen it. Stephen Nasse in his family prepared Pro Late Model, pretty sporty, 12th quick right now. Nasse, one of those drivers that you will see, even if he doesn't qualify well in his Pro Late or Super, will be able to make up ground during the race and head toward the front.
Been quite the entertaining Pro Late Model practice session thus far. Let's get an update trackside with Bob Dillner.
Well, yesterday we told you the 89 of Jeremy Williams had some trouble, actually had to replace the clutch on that car. And here's the interesting thing that we haven't followed up on until now as I was passing by his race car. He did not get laps on the racetrack to really evaluate his car because he had to change that clutch, and the remainder of the day for Pro Late models was rained out. So that was something very important here today to actually get acclimated to this racetrack, make sure he gets a baseline. That's what they've done in this practice session, and they said they are getting better and better on the racetrack, even though he's only 31st quick.
And another big slide there from Williams off the corner, but that's a great point. The abbreviated practice sessions yesterday did prevent some race teams from either testing out adjustments they made for what they thought the track was going to be like yesterday, or trying to finalize repair efforts they may have made from some struggles that happened earlier on in the morning.
Watching Renfrew again finish top 10 in his debut with the Snowflake last year. That car looks like it's rotating very well, almost too much. Saw him skate a little bit in the middle of the corner, saw him skate again coming off, and Renfrew, I think, has a very good race car. He's not shown right now among our top 15, but I think it's going to have some speed.
He seemed very confident in the interview he gave with us yesterday after showcasing the car, as the track again begins to pick up in a bit of intensity in terms of how many cars are out on the speedway right now. Ryan Phipps, the black number 5, with Travis Braden going by to the inside.
Good looking race car with that Christmas scheme. Of course, the HD Horvath design best appearing car contest going on for the pros and the supers this week. One of those Christmas schemes that we've come to love each and every year, seeing what each of the teams put together for this week. Carson Brown fastest, and by a pretty significant margin. You know, we're looking at first to 30th in the pros probably for qualifying about a half a second. I think we're looking at first to 30th in the supers at about 2.5 to 3/10. There's the fastest driver in the Pro Late Models, Carson Brown. How about this? Carson Brown, a 16.543 in a Pro Late Model. Hayden Plybon, a 16.321 in a super. We're talking about 2/10 the difference between supers and pros when it comes to the fastest car.
Well, Carson Brown had an eventful last venture out on the racetrack, and Jim Trado standing by with Carson.
I couldn't wait to talk to you, man. You had Anthony Campy talking to you about what happened on the racetrack, and then you ripped off a great lap. Those emotions must be all over the map right now.
Yeah, it's a little chaotic here in the pits, and I went to fire off and then kind of spun the tires, and then we got cut off by another car, kind of split it 3 wide, and it was kind of a mess. I didn't even realize that we were on a mock, and then I saw my water temp light come on, and I was like, I guess I better go. But No, it turned out pretty good.
Carson, you're just 16 years of age. You began this year with Anthony Campi at the World Series. That got you acclimated. How's that progression paying off for you now, knowing you've got Anthony and this team and the speed behind you?
Yeah, we've had a really good year. I mean, we've had some tough breaks and some things that haven't really gone our way, but to pick up the championship here in the Alan Turner Series, it's been a good year, and just big thanks to Anthony and the crew and Bill Stein and Pay Cafe, and just a lot of people helped me get here.
Those 4 races got you in position now to be really good for the Snowflake in terms of every opportunity, maybe even a provisional being the Alan Turner weekly champion here at Five Flags. But what have you been working through? What is your input? What's your contribution been this weekend, knowing what's on the line?
Yeah, there's definitely a lot on the line, and me and Anthony know that, and we've been working really hard. We tested, and I thought we were pretty good, and I think we have a lot of speed going into this race, and I'm looking forward to it. I think we'll be really good.
I like that smile. Carson Brown happy with the car. Even with that spin, he laid down the best lap, Bob Dillner.
That's unbelievable after what he went through. Jarrett Butcher very fast in the top 10 as well. We're going to talk to him. Jarrett, how good is this race car so far for you in the Pro Late Model practice?
It's pretty good, you know. Our car unloaded, not so good. We struggled a little bit on Monday, but we got it freed up pretty good, and I don't think it's far off. We just need some fine-tuned adjustments, and I think we'll be right there with a chance to win this thing.
Now, I did just see you a couple of minutes ago sleeping inside the race car as you get it cooled down, getting ready for another run. And the crew tells me you do that all the time when you're bored and they're working on the car. What's that about?
Yeah, I'm just trying to relax myself a little bit. You know, I don't race on these big tracks all the time, so just trying to calm myself down a little bit and try to get smooth and just think what I have to do.
Jarrett Butcher falling asleep literally, guys, in the car as his team is working on it, trying to remain calm, cool, and collected before he goes back out there.
As the track gets back underway, officials check that, we still remain under a caution as a couple of cars are catching up to the tail end of what is a slow-pacing field. Officials were checking for possible fluid on the racetrack, thus the reason for the slowdown with still a little bit more time in this practice session. Before the track goes hot once more, let's go back down to Jim.
With Stephen Nassy, who's got like 20 seconds in between what you're doing, tell us what you're progressing through with the Pro Late Model now.
You know, we're just trying to get it driving good. We usually lack raw speed in the Pro Late Model stuff, so we're trying to work on getting the car a lot better to get a good qualifying spot. We usually start so far back in this Pro race, and it's not like the Super with all the motor to make it up easy. So trying to make it not so difficult on myself. My guys are doing a great job. The Super's running really well, as Super's running good as well. So you know, hopefully just a good smooth weekend.
Steve, you told us on our FloRacing coverage leading into this weekend, you enjoy hanging with your buddies, you enjoy racing at this level, but you also told me at Nashville, the All-American, I'm saving my Pro to race at the Snowflake. What's the advantage for you racing both divisions here this weekend?
More track time's always good, being able to stay on top of it. And I actually picked up another ride in the Outlaw Sportsman race too, so looking forward to that with Greg Jane's car. He's been working, trying to get it ready to go racing again. So we're gonna have a lot of fun this weekend. More track time is always good, so hopefully it helps.
Give me one last update about the ST1, ST3 tires here for the first time from Hoosier. What have you learned when both of these cars were in the same compound?
I think Hoosier's done a great job of the product they've brung. I do think there's a little bit of an inconsistency going on right now. I haven't thrown a bunch of tires on. We've kind of been making a lot of race runs, but we're about to mock up this next run. So if you come back by and ask me, see how I feel about them then.
Glad to see you're smiling now. Good luck.
Yeah, thank you.
Well, Jim, you got to feed those race cars with fuel and tires to make them go fast, but you got to feed the teams down here in the pit area, and they're just about ready for a little break in the action. And look what I found. This is going to make you guys in the booth a little bit hungry. Michael Hines' team's got a whole bunch of ribs getting ready to be cooked up down here. I'm telling you, they go all out not only on the race cars, but the food to keep the teams nourished as well. So Eric and Adam, I'm not coming back to the TV compound for lunch today.
Well, we're trying to slip the track crew here a couple of 20s to make sure they keep the gate open long enough for us to get down there too. So we'll do our best once this session wraps up in about 12 minutes. Those look good.
When they start to fall off the bone, send some up our way. We'll make sure that they get taken care of.
Practice continues for the pros here. About 10 minutes left scheduled. This session scheduled to go up to 11:30 a.m. local time.
So we've had a chance now, Eric, in your first Snowball Derby visit to see some practice yesterday, see some practice today. You haven't been a part of much of the racing program yet. It was all the locals running last night. Robbie and Bill did a great job covering those. What are some of your impressions of just what you see so far? We haven't even got to qualifying yet, but so far what you've seen the first couple of days.
From a couple of vantage points, one, operation of this race, the track does an amazing job. All the resources they pull. Unfortunately, yesterday we had to lean on several different partners to keep the track dry and hope and get it to a point where we could run those races last night. Many other venues and ventures, it wouldn't be possible. So the speedway and organizers and track promoters and the race fans that turned out, despite the ill-looking forecast, unbelievable experience. The competitors, I could feel the tension starting to build, not only as the hours tick by, but as the minutes tick by, knowing that the importance of each bit of on-track activity is going to increase pretty much from this point forward, and it is visible. Even if the drivers try to hide it a little bit, you could tell there's a little bit of angst, even though everyone is having a good time. As far as how this place races, I'm in love with it. I have never been so enamored to be able to see drivers working so hard coming off the corner and back at us on the front straightaway as I do when the supers are out there, and these pro drivers are hustling just as hard. The short answer for your question, I'm in love with the Snowball Derby.
As most people are, and that's why this place will be absolutely jam-packed for the next few days. It will fill up tonight for qualifying. You had to be impressed when the racing was going on last night after a long delay and all of the track drying and the rain in the area and the cooler conditions, yet still thousands of fans coming out to enjoy the local show last night with the pro trucks and the sportsmen, the pure stocks.
And we touched on this yesterday. If you're thinking about coming out here on Sunday, I believe there's still some general admission tickets available, probably going to be standing room only by the time we get to race day. But there's an additional incentive that the track takes into account for the fans that are here. They'll empty the infield with haulers. They'll make sure that they get the haulers out. They'll get pedestrian and race fan cars in to try to clean up some of the area to still make it convenient to get in and out if needed. But everyone is taken into consideration with this race. And again, the forecast for Sunday looks gorgeous. We're talking sunny and 70 here in Pensacola. Stark contrast to what we have today with our crew, team, and pit reporters working in 40-degree temperatures right now.
Feels about 70 where I'm at right now.
The two of us.
Silas Ripley moving up into the top 5. Saw the Christmas green 25 Grinch scheme. 4th quick for the 25. The young driver making his first snowflake visit. Jim Wall, veteran driver in the 91 car on track. Once again, Jim Wall normally brings a pretty fast piece to the racetrack, but Jim Wall right now down the board a little bit. Send it back down to Bob Dillner. In a bit, we'll get back with Bob as we watch the cars fly by on the speed shot on the front straightaway. You see Silas Ripley in that Grinch machine making his way down pit road. Jim Wall as well in the 91.
This is the Buzzy Racing speed shot, courtesy of our friends at Buzzy Racing, longtime supporter here to across all platforms and racing series on FloRacing. And I love the position of this view here coming off of turn number 4, because it really does give a true angle and attitude as to how some of these cars are behaving throughout their runs. As Carson Brown continues to be the quickest in this session so far, with Dylan Capello, Travis Braden your top 3. Silas Ripley, after a top 5 effort, the Oxford 250 with the Rackley Ward team here. And Jake Finch rounding out your top 5 with a little more than 10 minutes remaining in this session. Check that, less than 10 minutes to go in this session.
I was watching pit road there. I saw the 16 car of Derek Thorne backing out of his pit stall, running double duty, a pro late model number 16, and 32nd right now for Thorne after turning 7 laps earlier. So we'll watch when he gets back on track if they've made some adjustments to try to get him further up as he flies by. Right there is Derek Thorne back on track, maybe with a fresh set of tires, maybe with some adjustments, as Thorne will try to get up to speed and make things happen here.
As we continue to watch these cars flash by here, a reminder to what the rest of the day's schedule looks like, with now less than 8 minutes to go in this practice session. here on what is Snowball Derby qualifying day. Next up is going to be that of modified practice that's going to take place at about 12 o'clock local time, so 1 p.m. Eastern. The next time that we will have Snowball Derby practice on the Speedway with the Supers is going to be at 1 o'clock local time. So at 2 p.m. Eastern is when the Super Late Models will be back on the Speedway. Snowflake practice to follow at 3 p.m. And that will continue on with modified qualifying. And then, of course, Snowball Derby qualifying scheduled for 7 p.m. Eastern time, 6 p.m. local is when we will see who will lock themselves into the field. And for those of you continuing to watch along on FloRacing, you see we have stuck with this Buzzy Racing speed cam for quite some time. There is a power outage here at the facility. It's impacted most of our cameras, but we will continue to advise you as to who is running where in the speed charts as this practice session winds down up to about 11:30 Central Time. We are working diligently to get the rest of our vantage points restored as quickly as possible, with now only about 5 or so minutes left in this practice.
How about the shots that all of our camera operators have brought us over the first couple of days? All of the great views, the great work from Jim Trado and Bob Donor down on pit road to bring us all of the stories during practice. And it amps up even more tonight at 6 p.m. Central Time with pole qualifying for the super late models of the Snowball Derby locking in the top 30. Carson Brown currently quickest in practice. That was the spin to P1 for Carson Brown as he was able to keep it from any damage on the backstretch despite spinning out. Yellow wave briefly, and he was able to get up to speed and go right up to the top of the chart where he was yesterday in that Campy Racing number 81. Dylan Capello second quick. Travis Braden laid down that fast lap early, and then he's been out there working, I believe, on race runs because he's turned 27 laps during this session, has Braden, the veteran. Silas Ripley, fourth fast for the youngster. Jake Finch in the top 5 in the Ronnie Sanders Racing number 18. Spencer Davis, Casey Roderick, Jarrett Butcher, TJ DeCare running pretty strong in the 15, 9th. And Matt Craig did end up finding more speed in the Pro as well. So Craig, both of his cars seem to be running much better here today.
Stephen Nasse gave us an indication that they were going to try to mock up late in this session. We'll see if he'll make it out there to do so, as there are a handful of cars trying to wring out whatever they can for the final few moments of this practice session. Spencer Davis, Jet Nolan, a couple of the cars that are on the racetrack, Anthony Bello and the Fetcho Racing development team, with Dylan shifting his focus to the Snowball Derby. Anthony Bello, longtime modified standout and regular, trying his hand to try to make the Snowflake.
Changes in the top 5 here over the last few minutes. Top 10 remaining unchanged as well. Down to less than 5 minutes or so remaining in this practice session for the Pro Late models of the Alan Turner Snowflake. Looking outside of the top 30 at drivers that we would expect to be fast and looking for speed yet. Jet Noland is currently 33rd. George Phillips is 34th. Augie Grill is 38th. Grant Thompson is 40th. Those are some competitors right there you would think would be a little bit higher up the board. John Bolin and Bubba Pollard have not been on track here today.
And Carson Brown's margin over the rest of the field is so impressive. Nearly 0.2 of a second between that of Brown and Capello on the scoring charts right now as things stand. With less than 5 minutes to go in the first Snowflake 100 practice session of the day here at Five Flags Speedway.
Of course, as you mentioned it, we're going to be back on track for super late models at 1 o'clock. That'll be their happy hour. Final chance to make any adjustments to get them a little bit better at 1 o'clock Central Time today. Final practice for the Snowball Derby when it comes to getting ready for 6 o'clock qualifying. 2 o'clock Snowflake. They'll have another hour left later this afternoon as well. Stephen Nasse back out on track. Currently Stephen Nasse, he likes how the Pro feels. He says the team's been working to give him a better car for qualifying because he says he buries himself and it's only a 100-lap race. There's no pit stops, no strategy involved. You want to qualify as close to the front as possible. So Nasse would like to put his car up in the top 10 tonight, giving himself a chance to not have to race all the way through the field.
Shout out to our friends at Buzzy Racing with that speed shot camera. We also want to give a shout out to Joe's Racing Products. It's our interview sponsor all weekend long, as we get to catch the final few cars that are going to take advantage of the open track time including that of Jared Butcher in this 54.
Butcher, a top 10 car right now, 8th fast for Jarrett Butcher. It's pretty solid as he makes his way through 1 and 2. Watch the characteristics of the car in 3 and 4. Butcher and brother Cole Butcher both expected to be fast in the respective races this weekend. Car looked good through 3 and 4 too. Watch Nassi.
So Nassi told us they were going to mock up late in this run to see what they had. This may be that effort. It looked as though the front end was sealed off pretty tightly, so we'll see what Nassi's got. If you were not able to watch our Drive to the Derby series that was put together by all of our content creators leading up to this weekend, Nassi was very open and candid about the fact that even though, of course, the elephant in the room is the Snowball Derby that got away at the Tech Shed a handful of years ago, he said that it still bothers him that the Snowflake 100 that he came across the finish line first, started to celebrate in victory lane, also got taken away from him for rough driving after late contact with Bubba Pollard. So Nassi, who's kept this car on jack stands, hoping for the opportunity to get a little bit of redemption in both races this weekend, trying his hand at the Snowflake as well. Let's go down to Bob.
Seth Christensen down here. I want to know how your practice was, but first I want to know, are you okay after a couple of close moments on the racetrack?
You know, I don't know. It was a little bit of a Code Brown moment there a couple of times. You know, just pushing it a little hard on this new tire. You know, we're all learning. A little bit harder tire than the SG2 we had. But overall, the car's great. You know, we're just making improvements as much as we can. And, you know, Ricky and Will and Brian, everyone that gets their hands on this car just makes this Freight Racing Fury race cars pretty fast. So we'll just keep making changes here and try to stay out of the oh crap moments.
Now, I know you had one of them because we saw it live on FloRacing, but you told me you had 2. Explain that.
Yeah, we had a second one coming off of 4. It wasn't as bad, but still a little bit of steering wheel moment there. But you know, we're just making chops at it, trying to make it better. And you know, this Freight Racing group, Speed U, CB Partners, and everyone that makes it possible. Kelly Drywall, PNR Ammo, Hackett Truck Sales. Everybody that makes it possible. Just super thankful.
Well, Seth Christensen here in the number 45 car, trying to get it dialed in for the Snowflake. And Eric, these guys got to be on that razor's edge to know when they're going fast. Let's go to Jim first.
Indeed, razor's edge is what Michael Hind is finding, the double-duty driver, the 20-year-old out of Hernando, Florida. I talked a lot about what you told me before the day started. What have you worked through most recently with the Pro Lane on it, Michael?
You know, I feel pretty good about both of our cars. I was hoping we would have went a little faster right there in our Pro car. I think it's got the race speed. Didn't really get a clean lap in our mock run, so we don't really know what we got with that car, but I think the Super's going to be really good, so just looking forward to it.
And how different is that in this condition, adjusting back to the Pro and the Super and back and forth?
Yeah, it's really hard like we talked about earlier. It's been a while since I've done both. I've only ran one pro race all year, and that was the beginning of the year. So just trying to get a feel for it. You know, you kind of hustle the pro car quite a bit more, where you try to finesse the Super. So just a little bit of a learning curve again, but it's nothing I haven't done before. So just trying to get the feel for it again.
All right, this is the warmest part of the day. You've had a lot of laps here at Five Flags Speedway. What's on the agenda today before we roll to qualify the Super late model at 6 o'clock?
I'm hoping we can go back out one more time and be a little faster in the Super. I think we're going to sit the last pro practice out and really just focus on the Super. Qualified really good last year. I believe we qualified 6th. I'd love to qualify top 10 again, but even making the show would just be great.
And you might even give your crew chief, Chris Cater, a break, because I think he's got about as many laps as you do on the track on that scooter. He's everywhere looking for where you can find speed in the infield between throwing the wrenches at it. It's kind of cool to have that behind you as well.
Oh yeah, definitely. He's working hard, everybody with us. It's a whole team effort. There's a lot more that goes into it than just me driving. So huge thanks to all of them. They're really working hard and looking forward to it.
Michael, we wish you the best. He's going to go for one more throw at it before we qualify tonight.
Grant Thompson with a great run in the Pro Trucks last night here during the opening night of racing at Five Flags Speedway. You saw that live on FloRacing, but I want to talk about this Pro late model. We expect you to be pretty quick right now, about 40th on the speed charts. Are you concerned?
A little bit. We got some work to do. There's something that we're missing that we need to find, and we're trying to mess with gears and front end suspension stuff right now. We're trying to work on it. Didn't get much practice yesterday. That kind of hurt us with the rain and everything, but my crew's working real hard to try to find what we need, and probably put a set of tires on this next session and see if we can't move up the speed chart some.
So is it one of those deals where the car feels comfortable but it's just not quick?
That's pretty much the problem right now. We just got to find a little bit more speed. It feels really good through the corner. We just got to find that a little bit more to try to catch some of these guys. But it's a really good field here. There's the best late model drivers in the country here. So really nice race car. The guy that owns it, really nice guy out of Georgia, and he's giving me this opportunity. So we're going to try to make the most of it and try to find some more speed here.
I've known this kid for a while. In fact, Adam, you and me remember him climbing out of a pro truck, victorious here at Five Flags Speedway when he was about that tall.
Yeah, he's gotten a little taller since then, and having fun here at the Snowball Derby week as a driver who considers this one of his home tracks, Grant Thompson.
So practice is in the books for the first round for both the Snowball Derby and the Snowflake 100 with the pros and super late models. More on-track action to come. Next up will be practice for the modifieds that will be racing tonight. You're watching live coverage of the 57th Annual Snowball Derby from Five Flags, presented by Flow Sports. We'll be back right after this.
From dawn to dusk, our family of racers and crew members are here, manufacturing the quality parts you need to get to victory lane. Made in America and delivered to your door. We build race-winning parts. Be a winner.
Hi, I'm JP Wibbs, and here at Buggy Works, we have the largest selection of new and used vehicles on the Gulf Coast. We also offer certified technician services and rentals. Come see our new location, Buggy Works, in the heart of Car City.
Flying A Motorsports has been providing the motorsports industry with the finest transportation equipment for over 35 years, offering an extensive range of new and pre-owned motor coaches, toter homes, race trailers, car haulers, and more. Flying A is proud to be a premier dealer for Renegade, Show Hauler, Intech, T&E, Bravo, C-Tech, and more. Visit FlyingAMotorsports.com to view current and on-order inventory.
Welcome back to Five Flags Speedway. Qualifying day for the 57th Annual Snowball Derby presented by Flow Sports rolls on with both the Supers and Pros having their chance on the racetrack already once today. Modified practice coming up and more practice for both of these groups before we head into our 6 p.m. local time qualifying session. Thanks to our new partner, we've got an interesting way for all of us race fans, including us here in the booth and our entire team, as a matter of fact, to get involved in some of the action. Dirt Draft is a unique fantasy playing experience, and I'm going to welcome in here Bob Dillner, who's a Dirt Draft veteran, because I'm a rookie to this. So, Bob, walk me and the viewers through how we can get involved and how we can win some pretty cool stuff.
I have been playing Dirt Draft for a really long time, Eric, from the Lucas Oil Late Model Dirt Series to the High Limit Series and everything in between. But here at the Snowball Derby, it's something new for some of the pavement fans. But what they have the opportunity to do is win some prizes on a daily basis. Also win an overall snowball championship, and here's how it's done. You take a guy like Bubba Pollard, okay, he's one of the favorites. Well, he's rated at a specific dollar amount. You basically have $100 grand.